If you like what we're doing, please consider subscribing. It's totally free and you can unsubscribe at any time, and it really helps us out a lot. Thanks for watching. Hope you liked the video.
Mark 2.0 starts now. Richard Leacock, welcome to the podcast. We
Thank
want to
you
start
so
out
much for
by
being
talking
here.
about your journey to LA. When did you first move there, and what was your reasoning for moving to LA?
I first came to LA back in 1999, and I had been doing quite a bit of work in Vancouver, from when I first started up until that point. And I felt like I needed to take a leap to grow. So I said, why not go to where a lot of it happens? So I came out to LA in 99, February of 99, I believe. And my brother drove down with me in my car then. And my suitcase pretty much took up the back window of my car. I had a Camaro at the time, and because I couldn't put the suitcase really any place else, that's where it fit. So it was like nice and big in the window. So anytime we left the car, took the suitcase out because we didn't want anybody to smash into the window and take the suitcase. So yeah, we did that back in February of 99. And, I moved in with a good friend of mine who now lives in Toronto. It's kind of fun. Go figure. She's from Seattle, but she was living in LA, and I moved in with that friend. And, we just started right away. I came in and I had a manager and started going on auditions and that sort of thing. And it wasn't till about a year later when I got the role for Doc, which ended up taking me to Toronto.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of back when I first came out there, and I was there, I guess, for like a couple of years, and then ended up moving to Toronto for the next 10 years.
Wow,
after that.
10 years. Okay. How long was Doc on? How many years was Doc?
Well, we got 5 seasons out of the show, but when the show ended, my son was about to be born, and his grandparents lived in Toronto, and I didn't want to be that son-in-law and be like, well, the show's over, we're leaving and we're taking your grandson with us.
Good point.
So we stuck around for 5 years more, and so to this day my son has a great relationship with his grandparents because he got to know them well there and started his life there.
So important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it really is
big. And I'm always, Mark, you've heard me say this before, I'm big on my family. They're first and foremost before anything else. I mean, listen, we moved to back to LA 10 years after being in Toronto. We moved here 12 years ago. And that was for me, but still everything once we got here had to fall in line for my family before I could really push ahead.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, got your priorities straight, definitely. So LA, I mean, when you were there, it's so big, there's probably a lot of great like neighborhoods. I don't know really what you call it. I mean, that was back in the 99, you said?
Well, he's in LA now.
Yeah,
so. I'm in LA now.
So what in your free time, what's the difference? What did you do then and what do you do now?
Well, I wasn't married back then when I first came out in 99, so it's a little different the way it looked.
So we won't go into that really. Enough said there.
I mean, to be honest with you, the woman I married, we were together then. We had just about 3 months after we started dating, I moved to LA in 99. And
you're a good man.
Yeah, I like to think so.
Yes, sir. Very nice.
So yeah, we were together, and so we did a lot of the back and forth. Because she was still in Vancouver, and so we did the long distance thing for a couple of years. And then when I got Doc, we all moved to Toronto together, and then got married while we were out there and that sort of thing. But when I first moved to Los Angeles, I was living in Hollywood. All my friends, all the people that were basically my tribe, which I believe is something you really do have to build if you come out to live in LA. You've got to build that tribe. because you want to really know who your family is, that you can depend on out here, because it can be a lonely place if you're out here by yourself trying to make it on your own. It can be really tough. So I lived in Hollywood, right off Hollywood Boulevard, as a matter of fact, just before you go over the hill. And that was a great experience. I got George, you remember the guy who played George Jefferson, Sherman Hemsley?
Oh, yeah.
yes.
Know him well.
Grew
He
up
was
with
a
him.
neighbor. I had next door to me was this producer who worked with Jerry Bruckheimer,
Oh,
the comedian Richard Lewis. I would always see him
yeah.
I
walking
loved
around
him.
my neighborhood. I think he lived right in my neighborhood, but I didn't know which house, but he was right in there because I would always see him walking down the street. There's an actor who was in Colors and a bunch of things. He was in Speed, named Glenn Plummer. He was my neighbor, lived right across from me. And, you know, tons of evenings we'd stand up front of my place, just chatting and talking.
Wow.
You know? So the neighborhood was kind of cool for that. Some crazy things, of course, happened because it is Hollywood, but for the most part, that was decent. When we came back and I was married, I knew that I wanted to live in a place that was a little bit more family friendly. Mm-hmm. So we ended up living across the street from where my son went to elementary school. That's where we just moved from. We were there for 11 years.
Wow.
For the most part. So,
fantastic.
And it's still important that way for me to live in a place where I feel comfortable with my wife stepping out or my son stepping out, because I need to have that for them.
Yeah. Now, as far as your family, it seems like your family has been blessed with a lot of opportunities in LA. Explain what they have accomplished in LA that they couldn't accomplish in another city.
Well, I don't know if they couldn't accomplish it, but maybe it would have been tougher to do so. For instance, my son has created a clothing line called Wasted Youth Crew, which is kind of an oxymoron play on the words wasted youth, because he's clearly not doing that. And in his fashion designer thing, he upcycles clothing. So he'll curate thrifted clothes, and then he'll take them, do his artistic spin on them, and then resell them as a way to be sustainable. And my wife also kind of does the same thing. She does sell thrifted clothes as well through her website and her blog and her Instagram. Guilt Free Style is the name of that. And then my wife also works for a place called Funko Pop, which is
the
collectibles. They're huge for a lot of people. They're tomorrow they have a girl coming in who's quite famous. I believe she's Bella Porch is her name. I think she's like I don't know, she's like internet famous.
Yeah.
Anyway, she's got a lot of followers, and there's people already lining up right now as you and I are speaking for an event tomorrow.
Wow.
To see her.
Wow.
So, my wife basically works also in a toy museum, because you have all the different characters that you can have DC, Marvel, Harry Potter, Disney, Saturday morning cartoons, horror, everything. And she's also been given the opportunity there to interview celebrities, sports, athletes, actors, whatever. So she's actually going to be interviewing on Friday Danny Trejo. All the movies that we know. Yeah. So she's going to get a chance to interview him, and she's interviewed Lamar Jackson, who's a football player. She interviewed the guy who played Polka Dot Man in Suicide Squad. She interviewed him. She interviewed Mark Paul Gosselaar, who was on Saved by the Bell, played Zach.
Yeah, Franklin Bash, you name it.
Wow. Franklin Bash, exactly. They talked a bit about that, actually, because that was one of his favorite shows that he did. So she's got to interview a ton of people. She's, had DMC from Run DMC, Henry Winkler. Oh,
wow. I was a diehard Run DMC.
Yeah. But what was cool with Henry Winkler is she got to tell him that he was in a movie that I produced.
Wow.
Because I
That's great.
was executive producer of a movie called Fronters years ago, and
Yeah.
he was in it and was really great in it.
Mm.
I'm a big
So
Fonz fan. Yeah. I
he signed
I
a pop
love
for
him.
of the Fonz and sent it to me. So I mean,
Oh,
the man is, in my eyes, he's a
sweet.
great guy.
Oh, totally. I would love that forever.
Oh
So
yeah.
besides the security thing, Vancouver versus LA. I mean,
Mhm.
I've been to LA a lot, but I mean, really, what's the big difference between the two places?
I mean, it's apples and oranges
Mm.
in a lot of ways, but the biggest thing is Vancouver is much more compact as compared to where LA is very spread out.
Mhm.
Oh,
Very easy to spend your day in your car out here.
mm.
Yeah.
Pre-COVID, if you had 2 or 3 auditions in a day, that's your day. You're in your car. That's it.
Oh yeah.
You drive into Santa Monica and then
Yeah.
over to Paramount lot and then somewhere over in the valley. I mean, that's your day. You spent your day in your car.
Mm.
Vancouver, as much as it can be seen, safer and all that sort of thing, it's just a smaller community of people. I mean, I feel like, growing up there, I think I met most people in that city is what it feels like.
I would
Probably,
like that.
but the acting community is small. So you're
Mhm.
going to run across a lot of the same people at auditions and all that sort of thing, or any events surrounding that. So, it's a very cool city. It's a beautiful city. And, you take it for granted when you grow up there. So when you go back and you really take a look at the greenery and everything, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I'd
And what
love
you
to
were
visit.
talking about LA, I remember living in Santa Monica because I was going to SMC and I had to work on Raising Hope, and it was at this small studio in Chatsworth.
Yeah,
So from Santa Monica to Chatsworth, that's a hike,
that's a commute for you.
Yeah.
I don't envy you on that one.
No. Yeah.
Come to think of it, I have vacation quite a bit in California. I always get rides, and all the rides just seem like endlessly long. I never really thought about that, but yeah.
Yeah, listen, wherever you're going, it's 30 minutes.
Oh,
It
It doesn't
really
matter.
is.
30 minutes. It's like,
oh,
and you could
gosh.
be even saying to me, but I haven't told you where I'm going. And I'll tell you, I don't care. It's 30 minutes
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful.
or
I
more.
like that.
It really is, yeah. So since you're in LA, we have to, discuss the acting. And if you were on a series over there in LA,
Mhm.
what studio would you want to work at?
Ooh.
And what type of series would you want to star in?
Okay. Here's what there's a good buddy of mine named Reno Wilson, who, if you look him up, he's been in everything. He was on the
Okay.
Cosby Show. He was on a show called Mike and Molly. He was just on a show called Good Girls, and now he's going to be in a new show coming up that's based on the movie Fatal Attraction. It's going to be in a TV series.
Ooh.
Watching him when he was on Mike and Molly doing a sitcom, I think that's probably the best job you can do, because you can make it home for dinner on that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so being a family man and not wanting to stray too far away, being on a sitcom seems like a great gig. I mean, because you tape one day out of the week, you maybe do a dress rehearsal, you'll do a wardrobe fitting, you'll do a table read through, but those things don't take your whole day. The longest thing you might do is the rehearsal, as
Yeah.
far as I can see. So watching him be able to be home for dinner most nights was great, because if you're working on location, that's not necessarily the case.
No, not
Now,
at all.
granted, my son is now much more grown, so it's not as much of a thing, because he's out longer than I am. I go to bed before he does because he's not graduated from high school. But still, to be able to, hang out with my wife after she gets off work and that sort of thing, I think that would really lend itself to, having some regular hours, so to speak. So doing a sitcom would be pretty cool. But other than that, man, I would love to be a lead in a series with my brother.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes total sense. Now, what about a studio? Do you have a favorite that, because I've worked at all of them,
Studio,
and
and I don't know.
it's hard to say really for me,
It really is. I mean, I've been on a few of the lots. I love the Paramount lot. I love the history that's behind the Paramount lot. Every time I go there to that lot, I just feel like there's a certain magic there. So maybe if I had to say anywhere, I would say the Paramount lot.
Yeah, I have great memories of working there. One of them I worked on was Ironside with Blair Underwood.
Yeah.
And I was on the episode where it got canned. And I think it got canned because they wanted an actor that was actually handicapped, and since he wasn't handicapped.
No, he wasn't.
Yeah, that's why. And he great actor, but my car, I had a Ford Taurus at the time. My car was like right 3 cars away from the Jeep that was getting blown up. And so they're like, just so you know, your car's 3 cars away from, the Jeep that's getting blown up. But I've worked at there so many times that there's so many memorable moments there.
Yeah. Back in like 1993, I think. There was a good friend of mine who worked at the accounting office over there in the Paramount lot. Yeah. So I came to visit LA, stayed with her, and I was on that Paramount lot every single day. Wow. I did the tour so often I could give the tour.
Oh yeah.
And one of the times that I was out there, I was walking and I saw the actor Avery Brooks, who you might know from Deep Space Nine, playing Captain Sisko.
I saw every single Deep Space Nine.
Okay.
I'm huge.
So you know who I'm talking about.
Yes, sir.
So
I love how he enunciates every single word. I love his style.
Yes, he does. Well, he's classically trained, so he will.
Oh, brilliant actor.
Yes, and a great jazz singer as well. A lot of people don't know that.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah. So I see him, and I'm wearing these sunglasses that were Ray-Bans that he used to wear on a show called Spencer for Hire, where he played a character named Hawk.
Oh,
Hawk
I love that.
I remember this show. I had no idea.
It was great.
I didn't really watch it. I know of the show.
Oh, yeah, but check it out, because just to watch him, because he's incredible on it. They spun him off onto his own show, actually, for a while, too. So I had the same sunglasses. And when he stepped out of the studio, saw me with the sunglasses, looks at me and goes, in character as the character Hawk, even though he's wearing his Cisco outfit, looks at me and goes, nice sunglasses. That was it for me. I lost it. I'm like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing.
Oh man,
it was pretty cool.
I got to meet Avery Brooks. Oh, that was great.
Man, it was a pretty good trip. This is when Arsenio Hall show was still on. I walked onto his stage and was visualizing standing on his stage because nobody was in there. I walked into Eddie Murphy's production office. I saw Eddie Murphy production mug and I took that. Sorry, Ed. And then I got to watch the Martin Lawrence show. I got to watch him film his show, and I got to watch Frasier film his show.
Wow. Yeah.
So it was a great trip.
Wow. Oh, so much. I know all of that. I mean, just so well. Yeah. Oh my goodness. You've been all over those big studios and stuff.
Yeah.
Tell me I don't know anything about this stuff. What is like the Netflix studios and the Amazon studios and Apple? How does that all differ?
Well, they film at any of the studios. It all depends on the show. They
film anywhere, but most of the time, actually, somebody who I know who works at Netflix, she was telling me that most of the stuff that they shoot for Netflix, they don't shoot in LA.
No,
they shoot elsewhere. So, I know like my brother's done a few Netflix things. Like my brother Viv was in Lost in Space.
Oh gosh,
Sandra Bullock movie.
That's a great series, Lost in Space.
Yeah, you've probably seen him and my nephew in there if you've watched it.
Oh my goodness, I must have, yes.
Yeah. So, you just go where the day takes you, wherever the job is, Budapest shot out there, and wherever. I shot in Toronto, Halifax. You just go wherever, man.
Oh my goodness.
Where's the Toronto scene at? Because I was there in 2020. I stayed at the Ice Condos right across from the Scotiabank Arena. Or is it all over the city?
It's all over the city. You might have a few places that are rented out to be studios, and I believe there are some studios down by the waterfront which they were developing when I left.
Yeah.
And I think those are there, and I think they're pretty busy over there with that. But it really is all over the city. I've had to drive an hour out of Toronto to a place called Hamilton to shoot a couple of movies over that way. One with Ving Rhames, that was called Saving God, which is pretty cool to work with Ving. I always heard these stories about him that he was going to be, a little menacing. Nothing could be further from the truth. That dude was the funniest cat, and I had a great time with him.
Yeah.
So I don't know what those stories were all about.
Yeah, he must have liked you.
I mean, I know he's a method actor, and my character played his parole officer. So I thought, okay, if he's method, maybe he's not gonna, take to me right away. But the first thing with him when we met, we dove into, my past, his past, how he grew up, and then jokes. It was all jokes all the time, unless, we were doing a take, then it was serious.
That's awesome. You must
Now, what about your
appreciate
start?
company.
Take us back to your start, because I was a big 21 Jump Street fan. Saturday evenings on Fox, when Fox was just coming out, they'd have it, in syndication or whatever it was. I even had the CD, the 21 Jump Street soundtrack. So,
oh wow,
talk about the friends that you met on there and just your experience.
Yeah, and friends to this day, to be honest with you. I was 18 years old, my son's age, and it was January. Oh, I'm going to date myself, so you're going to know. You're going to be able to do the math. January 87, I walked onto the set of 21 Jump Street. I think I had been visiting a couple of days prior to that, and I was having lunch with my friend who was playing the main bad guy, Reginald Dorsey. He's pretty much the one who him and another friend, Charles Payne, kind of ushered me into the world of acting. And I was just visiting, and Johnny Depp was not the original guy to play the role of Tom Hansen. There was another guy who got let go, and then they brought Johnny in. And so I'm sitting at lunch with my two friends, and then also here comes Johnny Depp and sits down with us. Here comes the director and the producer, and they sit down with us, and we're all sitting there. I mean, I knew who Johnny was from seeing him on Nightmare on Elm Street, but that was it. That's the only thing I knew him from. And we were sitting there just having lunch, and the producer and director, Kim Manners, who passed away, God bless him, he said, we need to reshoot a scene with Johnny that when we don't have the original actor that was available who shot it the last time. And my guys, my two friends, Charles and Reggie, they're like, well, why don't you put Rich in that role? And they looked at me and said, hey, oh, yeah. Have you ever acted before? And I was like, yeah. Had not acted
all the time.
Oh, yeah. I'm acting right now. You just didn't know. So they auditioned me right there sitting at lunch. I always tell a story. I had a fork full of food go here. I'm like, oh, you want me to say what now? Oh, okay. Right. Wow. So I just did that while we were sitting there at lunch, and they kind of talked among themselves. And they're like, yeah, let's do it. And I leaned over to Reggie and I was like, what just happened? What just happened? You're about to do a scene with Johnny. I'm like,
fate, my friend.
Okay. All right. I just I wasn't from that world yet. I had been involved in entertainment. I'd done a couple of plays, but I mean, school plays, right? And I had been a dancer for many years. I was an athlete and ran track and played basketball, that sort of thing. So honestly, this was a cool thing for me to do. But once I got a taste of it, I knew that that's where I needed to go. That was it.
Wow,
for me.
That is a good story.
Yeah.
That is so heartwarming. Wow, it just happened all around you now.
Yeah. But I got to know, Peter DeLuise and Holly Robinson and Dustin Gwynn and Stephen Williams, all the people that were on the main people on the show. Because, the show was around for about 5 years. Johnny left after 3 years, I believe. But I got to know the others. I ended up doing like 6 different parts on the show, I believe. I never played the same character twice because there wasn't too many people who look like me up there in Vancouver. So they're like, use Rich again. And I didn't change anything about me. So
That's great.
Oh, great.
I could always remember Peter DeLuise on, I got a guest star role. It was my first guest star of any point, at any point. And he pulled me aside and said, if you need to run lines, you come over to me and you let me know. He was just right there. I never forgot that. He was at my 50th birthday, and I told him that story. And he actually directed The Rock in one of his first TV appearances as an actor on a TV show called The Net. Yeah, this was like back in 98, I want to say. And I did a scene with The Rock in one of his first things.
Wow.
And, you know, Peter was directing that, and, you know, he made sure, he's like, I want you for this role. So he brought me in, and he says, you're going to be working with this guy, Dwayne who? He says, Dwayne Johnson. He's The Rock. You watch wrestling? I'm like, no, I don't watch wrestling.
Nope.
He's like, he's going to be the champ in wrestling. He's going to be the champ. I'm like, okay. And so I meet Dwayne, and he is the biggest dude I'd ever seen at that point. I think he's about 6'5". I think he had to be 270 pounds or something like that at the time. And he was always eating, but super sweet guy.
Wow. Yeah, probably crazy to be in his presence for the first time. You know, I'm a big sci-fi fan. So can I ask you a little about a couple of your shows that you did? I love The Outer Limits. Can you give me a little taste of what you experienced there?
Yeah. I did 2 episodes of The Outer Limits, 2 different roles. The first one I did was with Harry Hamlin and Nicole DeBoer, who was also on Deep Space Nine, was in that episode. And, you know, it was a quick little thing. I had a day on it. And, you know, it's funny. I ran into Harry Hamlin here at Ralph's at the grocery store, and we started talking. I'm like, oh, I worked with you. And he's like, what did we work on? And we were talking about, he's like, wow, that was a really long time ago now.
Oh, yeah.
And then the other one I did was this episode, I can't remember what the episode was called, but they injected alien DNA into this convict, and then they wanted to see what would happen to him. And then when he became a threat, they got the military to go after him in the forest. And I was part of the military that went after him. And what I remember about this is there was Alan Rations, who was on LA Law. Clancy Brown was the man who they injected the DNA into. And I remember we were at lunch. So Clancy's got all this alien makeup that was on him. It took about 4 hours to get the stuff on. And I had the military, the camouflage on my face. And I walk into lunch. He's clearly got all this crazy stuff on his face. And he looks at me and he says, you should see a dermatologist about those marks you got on your face. I lost it. It was the funniest thing.
Kept his sense of humor after 4 hours of makeup. I like
this. Is what I'm saying about him. He was still, had a light heart and everything, because I could understand somebody being a little upset being under that.
Oh my goodness.
It was great. And I remember it was the dead of winter when we shot. And I'm not a fan of the cold. I live in LA. There's part of that is
exactly same here.
That had to do this action bit where there's an explosion that goes off right beside me, and I had to dive out of the way. Well, my feet were frozen, so my leap away from the explosion wasn't real big on the first take. So luckily they let me go thaw out a little bit, so the second take looked like a little bit more action.
Oh gosh, that's funny. So you're also on Sliders, right?
Yeah.
I watched that a lot.
That was very cool. I got to work with Jerry O'Connell, who's a great dude. And Jonathan Rhys. I'm gonna forget his last name. Sala from Raiders of the Lost Ark. Is it John Rhys Davies? Can't remember. That don't quote me on that name. But great episode to do. Barry Pepper, who has been in a ton of stuff. He was an up and comer in Vancouver like myself, and we worked together on that. And we played like hippies in the 70s. They've slid back into the 70s, back in time into the 70s. And it was kind of, so I had this huge afro, these rose-colored glasses, a buckskin vest, and it was far out. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it was a great episode, by the way.
Yeah.
What a fun job that would be on.
Yeah, I did watch it.
Okay. It was a lot of fun.
It'd be great to be on a series where time even changed all the time. You'd never get bored.
Oh, yeah, because you get to wear be a different thing every week. Oh my God.
Sweet.
I mean, wardrobe is a big thing about acting because it infuses who you are as the character. You want to feel good in what you have on. That's why the actor and the wardrobe person will tend to work together, so we feel comfortable with what we're doing, and we come to find out a good road to be on for the character.
So I saw the movie, but not really the series Stargate. What do you remember about that? That went on and on.
Yeah, Stargate. What it went for 10 years or something like that. It went for a long time, and I think I did 3 episodes of that. One of them, I played like a very nondescript guard, wearing a balaclava, wearing a ski mask. Balaclava is what we say in Canada. And I was wearing a ski mask in it, and at the very end of the scene, I pull it off. And so you see me and I say some stuff. And I actually came across someone who said, "Oh yeah, you did Outer Limit or Stargate." And I was like, "How do you?" And they were describing this scene. I'm like, "How do you remember that?"
Oh yeah.
So I did that one, and I did another one where I played a character named Colonel Brogan, who it was pretty much the invasion of the body snatchers in this. So some kind of force has taken over a lot of people and created doppelgangers, and it's trying to take over the base. So it was basically like Die Hard on the military base where everybody stays.
Yeah, cool.
So one guy is trying to save everybody else, and my character was taken over by something. And so you see me get shot by the main one. Of the main
was
guys.
that the one where you got killed right away, or
right away? Which time? No, this is one. I was killed pretty quick. You see me in one scene chasing after him, and then he shoots me. Chris Judge, who played the Teal'c, the character Teal'c, and he shot me, and then I died.
You and your wife have a lot of fun. Okay, my favorite one I saved for last. I have to know what happened on the X-Files. My favorite.
Oh man, X-Files. I didn't really get to work with David Duchovny or Gillian Anderson. They kind of came in at the tail end of the scene, but I never really met them. So there was all the stuff that was happening before, all the action. I was playing a cop searching this warehouse looking for someone. The pusher man who would suggest something to you and you would do it. That's just kind of was his power. And he ended up making my partner think that I was the guy he was looking for. So my partner drew down on me. I didn't die, but other cops came in and grabbed him, made him realize that what he was seeing wasn't what he was seeing. And Gillian Anderson and David Duchovny came in, and it was a quick deal, but it was pretty cool to be able to say, "Hey, I did the X-Files."
Oh, for sure. That looks real good. Everyone knows that one.
Yeah.
There was nothing more popular in the 90s than the X-Files.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now back to you growing up. Did you ever imagine that you would be living in LA?
I mean, as a small kid, no. I mean, my life was what was in front of me. But I think as I got older and into my teens and started to love everything around entertainment, I didn't know that I would necessarily live here, but I always wanted to come and visit here. And when I was finally able to do that, I said, yeah, I got to come here someday. So I worked really hard to be able to afford to come here. In 98, I did a Super Bowl commercial for DiGiorno Pizza that gave me the money to be able to move down here in 99. So that's kind of what got me here.
Oh, that's great.
That's really insightful. I mean, the key to your success, I mean, it wasn't eating lunch on the set of, Jump Street. It wasn't. It was your mindset. You didn't have enough money and you decided, I'm going to go to LA. So what did you do? Who did you have to be? I mean, I'm sure you had your support behind you too, but how did you prepare yourself for that? And what did you do?
Well, first and foremost, you had to go through, being able to work here legally. So I had to get a visa to be able to come. So to do that, you had to prove you were outstanding in your field where you were. So I got letters of references from every person I knew in the business who was from the US, directors, producers, actors, all that sort of thing. And had to build up a package to do that, which is something anyone from any other country who's trying to come to the US legally, this is what you have to do to get here if you're coming on the basis of you being an actor. And then also, with that was to also know that I had to keep working to build up more credits. And that takes time. It does take time, but I did have the mindset that at some point I was going to get here. And the mindset changes. There's because you have to set goals for yourself of what it is, short-term goals and the long-term goals. So the long-term goal was to get here. So I had to do a bunch of other little things leading up to that would get me here. Once I did that, then I had to set goals for what I was going to do while I was here. And, we still keep setting those goals. Even if you're famous, if you're not setting goals for yourself, I don't know what you're doing.
Do you listen to speakers talk about that? Did you learn that from someone? Because I hear things even as far back as the 50s and Earl Nightingale and, people who just, are just positive thinkers and stuff like that. You have to have a goal and a clear vision.
Yeah, you absolutely do. If you listen to all the people who have been successful in their field, you can sometimes say they've been singular minded in the way that they've gone about things. I have listened to a lot of people, but I'll tell you what, there was a lot of folks who were naysayers saying, well, why do you want to go to LA? There's so many actors there. Well, anytime I would hear that was fuel to make me say, watch me. I'm going to do this and you're going to see what I do. That just was fuel for me. So if you were being negative about it, it was fuel. If you're being positive, it was fuel. So, and it still is to this day. And that's how I had to look at it, was take everything that people say and use it. I would listen to people like, I would look back at tapes of Bruce Lee or read things that he had said about positivity and things like Muhammad Ali. These are the two people that were on my wall as a kid, Muhammad Ali and Bruce Lee. I once wrote a poem saying, talking about me as a kid, and there was a picture of me beside it. It said, this 6-year-old kid just wants to be able to kick like Bruce Lee, punch like Muhammad Ali, run like Bruce Jenner at the time, and have a car like Starsky and Hutch, and have a cool leather jacket like Shaft, and have a girlfriend that looks like Pam Grier. So that was just a little thing I wrote about myself, and I was like, I've accomplished a lot of these things when I look back at it, because I went into martial arts because of Bruce Lee. I learned how to box because of Muhammad Ali and all the other things.
Fantastic attitude. You have accomplished a lot. In fact, if you could maybe narrow it down to your, of course, it doesn't have to be acting or anything, just whatever you think your top 2 maybe accomplishments have been, what you're most proud of.
The most thing I'm most proud of is the son that I helped usher into this world. My son Maxwell is an incredible human being. I'm proud of the young man he's become. 18-year-olds, they're just starting out in the world and trying to figure things out. And he's a creative kid. He's a smart kid. So that right there is the biggest thing I've ever done in my life. I think my wife would also say that. As far as, career goes, that's hard to say, because there's so many different things. Like all these different projects I've done or been a part of are just a part of me. And I don't want to call them my babies, but they're kind of like my babies to a degree. So to say that one is higher than the other is kind of hard. I have moments where I'm like, oh, that was pretty cool. I worked with Jim Varney, who played Ernest in all the Ernest Goes to Camp movies and all that sort of thing. And I think the experience of meeting him and talking to him and learning from him was very cool. I was with one of my co-stars in the film that I did with him a few weeks ago, Miguel Nunez, and we just talked about a little bit about just how smart Jim Varney was, because he could really talk about anything at all. He was well versed in it, classically trained, just a brilliant guy. And people know him as this silly character Ernest, and that's who they presume him to be. He couldn't be further from that guy in terms of who he really was. So, there's things like that. Or working.
So he was really the mastermind behind that whole thing.
Well, him and another guy named John Cherry, that they were friends. It started off with the commercials and stuff, that the character that they created and did that, and then they took it to the movies and they made a whole career out of it.
I remember.
And they were able to do that, and he was smart enough to be able to do that and monetize it and be able to push forward with it and make a string of successful movies. Some feature films and then some straight to DVD stuff. But I mean, they went for a long while doing that, starting from the commercials on up.
He was even doing commercials out of Michigan, where I was from.
Yeah.
Country Fresh Milk, ABC Warehouse. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I got to work with Robert Altman, which is, was such a big deal to me at the time. Robert Altman is this auteur who's just well known for MASH, like making the movie MASH, and then also the TV series Combat, and a whole host of movies. There's so many movies that he's been a part of. And for him to just, look at me and say, I want you to be in my TV series, when I went in to read for like a security guard role, and then walked away with like a lead on it. I mean, that was amazing. I think I told you that story already, Mark. I mean, about how I showed up on the first day. I didn't even know what I was going to be doing. And I went to the wardrobe truck and he was there and he said, what do you want to wear? I'm like, what? So what do you want? I said, how about what I'm wearing? He's like, I like it. We'll rent it. And he said, what do you want your character's name to be?
Wow.
Malcolm? And he's like, yeah, Malcolm. That's a good name. What's your last name? I went, Duke? He was like, Malcolm Duke. It's got a good ring. Everybody, this is Malcolm Duke. I was like, okay.
Wow, you're sitting there writing it.
Yeah, and then for that show, there was a script, but everything I did was improv into a scene that was weaved into a scene. So it was an amazing acting experience to be able to do that, because he does that a lot with his people. And he doesn't audition people. He just meets with them and talks with them to see if that person has the right personality to fit what he's doing. So it was just an amazing experience from top to bottom with him.
You're such a natural. You've done so many things and so easily. I think that's your accomplishment.
Oh,
It's just like it just comes to you naturally. Everything just gravitates toward you. You're just like a natural or something.
You know, my brother kind of says stuff like that. You know, he says, you're kind of like Forrest Gump a little bit.
I like
you know,
that. It's cool.
you know, when certain people who became friends of mine would come from the US up here, they'd heard of me already. Be like, Rich is like Huggy Bear up in Vancouver. You got to meet Rich. You know, that's one thing Reno, my friend
Huggy
Reno
Bear,
said,
yeah.
I already knew who you were before I ever met you.
That's great.
You know,
Yeah.
so.
Now back to the LA thing. What most people don't
Mhm.
know is that LA has some of the best food, some of the best restaurants around. What are some of your favorite restaurants in LA?
Ooh, number one is going to be Izakaya. It's a sushi joint that my wife and I have been going to and love. We've done anniversaries there. We love that place. We love sushi, period.
Mm.
And that's joint number one. We like, you know, like Caribbean food and stuff like that, Jamaican food. So there's been a couple of places we've gone to. One is called the Sat Down Grill. It's a pretty cool Jamaican spot to get that. What else do we like? For the first while when we came out here, we weren't going out as much. Because you know, we were tight knit with our son, and you know, the one place we would go to was Maria's Italian Kitchen, which was like right around the corner from where we lived, so we could walk there. So that was the place we started to go to. We're starting to venture out a little bit more now. There was a few spots that we went to, and those were the spots we liked.
Okay.
Did go to a place called Boa. Great steak place. If you like steak, good steaks.
Yeah.
So that was good. We went to a place just for my son's birthday just recently called Firefly. Great spot.
What are the beaches like right near there?
The beaches, I mean, I'm in the valley, so the beaches are always going to be that 30-minute drive I was talking about. Yeah, 30 minutes at least. Maybe more if you're trying to, because Santa Monica. But, you know, if we go to the beach, we've gone to Malibu, we've gone to Manhattan Beach, we've gone to, you know, the Santa Monica Pier. You know, the beaches are pretty cool here. I don't go in the water much because, you know, I've been to some really great beaches, and been blessed to do so. But we like to just go hang out at the beach is what we like to do. We go, bring a little speaker, have some food, put up our little awning and that sort of thing, and just hang out. My wife loves the beach. That's her happy place. So I have to make sure I take her there at least a few times.
Yes, you have to go. Yeah, I'm scared of sharks. So
You and me both, brother.
So if you're not at the beach, where are you hanging out? Like lately, now that you're married?
I mean, we're at home a lot, man. We're homebodies. You know, we like to go to see all the tentpole movies together. All the three of us, we like to go do that. We'll go see all the Fast and Furious movies. We'll go see all the Marvel and DC films. We'll do that stuff together. But we stay home a lot. We're homebodies, man. You know.
LA's changed a lot. I mean, is that a factor? You know, there's a lot of like protesting. I don't want to talk politics at all, but does that kind of keep you more like central and more than venturing out a lot more?
No, not at all. It's not about that at all.
I see that stuff on TV and I'm like, do I want to go there? I don't want to get stuck in some situation.
I mean, listen, this stuff, I mean, without getting too political, a lot of that stuff, it needs to happen. And, you know, I'm not talking about riots or anything like that.
Yeah.
But, you know, people need to have their voices heard and so on. But, yeah, that's not something I really worry about.
Cool.
You know, there's a piece of LA, like I feel that's mine. And that's my bubble, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know, at our old building, a lot of those people are like family to us. Because we've lived there with them, we've gone on vacation with them, and they truly are family. We're 4 blocks away from them at this point, and they're still family. So,
yeah, that's what I was going to ask too. How easy is it to make friends and connections in LA?
connections you can make. I mean, I've been blessed enough to meet a lot of cool people. Making friends is one thing. Making real friends is another. I think I've been blessed in all those areas. I talked about having your tribe in the beginning, and that's really truly something that I think everybody should think about doing when you come here. You want to build something for yourself. You want to have that family. You don't want to feel alone. So that's something that we build.
I like the word you're using there, tribe.
Yeah, man, that's a real thing, man. Who do you count on? Who counts on you? I think all of us need to have that love. That's what we all want, right? So,
and I think with the reputation though, I think you get the most down to earth people in LA. People don't realize it. I mean, even people who are in the industry, like I've had the pleasure of meeting Ben Vereen, and I remember him from Webster. He used to come in where I was working. I was working at a CVS pharmacy, and he used to get nicest guy, down to earth.
Well, I mean, listen, you're going to meet all kinds. There's definitely a lot of laid back people because that's kind of a West Coast kind of flavor thing. It's very laid back. There's a lot of down to earth people. I've been blessed to meet a lot of them. One of my good friends is Jonathan Frakes, who's on Star Trek Next Generation. It's how I ended up doing, Star Trek.
You're a friend with Jonathan Frakes?
Yes, I am.
Oh my gosh, I'm dying over here.
LeVar Burton, who played Geordi, was my neighbor up the street. So
you're killing me.
LeVar Burton, yeah.
Oh, Geordi, oh my goodness.
Yeah, wow. Actually, LeVar officiated my friend Reno Wilson's wedding. So, it's all intertwined. You start to come
I have
across
all autograph pictures of both of them and stuff.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, I'm like a nut. Yeah.
Yeah. And I worked with Jonathan's wife, Jeannie Francis, who's of General Hospital fame.
Oh, yeah. I know her well. I mean, I know of her. Yeah. I grew up watching.
I love Jeannie. She's great. They're both great people.
And Jonathan is still directing, right? Even in these new series and
everything Star Trek
Discovery is
they hand to him.
Cool.
They hand him the reins on all of them.
Oh man.
Look out for Star Trek Picard next season 3. Look out.
Yeah, you were in Picard, one of the episodes.
I was in
There's
Picard.
There's gonna be a season 2. Awesome.
Yeah. Look out for.
You heard it here.
3. Yeah. I'm good friends with Tom Bergeron, who used to host Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah. How did that come about?
See him at the gym. And then we started talking, and he's like, "We should have lunch one day." And I was like, "Yeah, let's have lunch." So now we go to lunch every so often. When he's in town, we go to lunch.
Yeah.
You just put yourself right in the heart of everything, and just every day is a new adventure. It seems like for you.
Well, that's the one thing that can happen with LA. You can step out of your house and your fortune can change because there's so many people around that are involved in this business. Whereas, in Vancouver, it's less. It's far less. Far less people. And it's far less as far as the actual community. It's smaller. So out here, even when I was back here in '99, I was running into people every day. One of my first auditions that I went to, I saw Damon Wayans. I saw this rapper named Sticky Fingers, who was there from the group Onyx. There was all these folks. Anthony Montgomery, who ended up being on Star Trek Enterprise as well. I got to know him a little bit. It's you just see all these folks, you get to know each other, and it's like whatever.
Did you get to talk to Damon Wayans or meet him?
Damon, I spoke to because not that day, but I spoke to him another time because a friend of mine owned a comedy club that Damon was shooting a special at. So I got to meet him then and chatted with him then.
Yeah, I worked on a scene of Lethal Weapon, that
Fox
TV show with him. And man, I was amazed at how great he is, but his shoe size, he has a huge shoe size. I'm like, it was just a great scene. It was in like a fancy hotel down by the water in Long Beach.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was a decent series. It just didn't all work out the way.
No, yeah.
Yeah, that's all the other story. We ain't gonna talk about that, but yeah.
But even I know, right in that time, that's when the Fox TV network was just like exploding. And it must have been just crazy, people meeting people during that time.
Man, it not even just Fox, man. It's just everyone is out here. One of the first people I saw when I moved out here in '99, I went to Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. My brother.
Oh yeah, I've been there.
And we walked in, and Cuba Gooding was there, and I had met Cuba in Vancouver from when he did MacGyver years ago.
Oh, okay.
We hung out a lot while he was in Vancouver. He came up 2 or 3 times, and each time he'd come up, we end up hanging out. And so I got to see him. And when I was moving here the last time, I get on the plane. Who's on the plane? Cuba Gooding Jr.
Wow. His brother's real talented too, Omar.
Yeah. Well, Omar has done a lot. Omar's done a whole lot. Man, you just run into people every day here. You're just walking down the street, you go to the Starbucks or coffee shop, whatever. You'll meet someone. You'll see somebody,
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy goes to the Coffee Bean right down the street from me right now. Sunday, that's where he goes.
Wow.
I painted my dad's house.
Yeah.
I painted my dad's house to be able to buy a Walkman and Eddie Murphy, and I will listen to it 5,000 times. Easy. I loved every second of Eddie Murphy when I was young. I mean his stand-up stuff.
Oh yeah, 100%. Me and my brother as kids knew that stuff verbatim.
Oh, me too. I could recite that.
It started with the Richard Pryor records, sneaking out the Richard Pryor records and turning the volume down real low and listening to it and just giggling when no one was around. And then we got as soon as we got the Walkmans, we didn't have to let nobody know what we were listening to. So
and it was everywhere. I would go to work and we'd be throwing those lines back and forth all day just to keep ourselves happy at work. You know what I mean? Man.
I mean, my brother ended up working with Eddie on I Spy, and I was actually cast.
Yeah, he had mentioned that.
Yeah, I was cast in the movie, but I would have had to be flying from coast to coast from Vancouver to Toronto. And the film wanted to be in the #1 position. They wanted to have the first right. But the TV series legally couldn't do that because I had a contract with them. It was kind of like Tom Selleck losing out Raiders of the Lost Ark to Harrison Ford. That's what happened to me.
Wow. I don't know that either.
I mean,
wow,
not the same level in terms of what the role was going to do for me, but you get the idea. I ended up not being able to do it, although Eddie was the one who approved me. And so when I actually went to visit the set, Eddie said to both me and my brother, "You guys are funny. So forever, no one can tell me that I'm not funny."
That's right. Because that's totally validated better than any blue check mark ever could.
I mean, Eddie Murphy said I'm funny. Bye. I don't have
Mic drop. Yep. Definitely. Man, the 80s was great.
It really was. Yeah. And one thing I wanted to talk about, because we are also interview a lot of musicians, take us back to when you were growing up and the 80s too. What were some of your favorite what was your music style? What were you listening to? Were you listening to a little bit of everything? What were your favorite artists?
I mean, I definitely was listening to a lot of different things, but I was heavy into R&B and funk and hip hop. I'm saying that like I'm not now. I am, but it was all about. If I look back then, it was because I was a break dancer at one point, so it was all about that underground feeling with Africa Bambaataa and George Clinton, and just like this funk, this heavy funk. It was cool. And then we had some of the hip hop early on was like Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. That was big for me personally. I loved that. That's what really took me into hip hop was that song.
Yeah.
And then, outside of that was Michael Jackson, Jackson 5, Prince, Stevie Wonder. It was, the Gap Band, all that stuff. That was where I was really into it. I remember when I went to check out a high school that I was going to go to, and we started high school at the 8th grade out there in Vancouver. And somebody asked me what my favorite music was. And I didn't want to, because, disco used to get pooped on pretty hard after a while. And this is probably like 81 or something. And I didn't want to tell anybody that I listened to R&B. So I remember I was like, yeah, I'm into rock, which, I didn't mind. And I liked a lot of rock songs, but that's what I told him. He's like, wait, you like rock? You don't like funk and R&B? I'm like, yeah,
that too.
But I just didn't expect this cat, to say what he was saying, because he didn't look like me. He didn't look like he would be remotely involved in R&B and funk. He looked like a rocker dude, long hair, jean jacket. You think about the early 80s and stuff. That's what that look was, that like those hair bands. That's what this dude looked like. So when he told me he liked funk and R&B, I was like, I'm thrown right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's we were just talking last night where we had this metal band on, and we were listening to metal, but we're playing metal, but we're listening to rap, on the side. Like,
wow. I was a big rap guy. I wanted to be a rapper in high school. Run BOZ, Seriously.
I wrote some raps. You'll never hear them, but I wrote them.
Yeah. I feel you. What about somebody like Philip Bailey? I was a big Phil Collins fan. I think they should have done a whole album together. When they
should have done a whole album together.
I mean, but Phil was so busy, and so was
Easy Lover.
Yeah.
Come on, man. That was a great song. They could have easily done that back then. Yeah, that's another group. Earth, Wind and Fire, Commodores. The list goes on, man. I loved it all. Yeah. I'm one of those cats who knew everything about the album. I read the liner notes on the albums. I read all of them. So I know who produced, who mixed. I knew all that stuff. I absorbed it all.
Now, sticking to the 80s, you were a big TV guy. What was your favorite TV shows?
Oh, man. Yeah. Listen, right. It was so much. It started in the 70s, but in the 80s, man, what were we watching? 18. Watching the 18. Yeah. We were watching Different Strokes and Facts of Life and a lot of sitcoms. Obviously, Cosby Show. We started watching that in the 80s. Are we still allowed to talk about that? I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I watched it too. Yeah, for sure. Different World too was that era.
Big time Different World, right into the 90s with that one. But I was recently, as a matter of fact, last night, watching an old episode of The $6 Million Man.
Oh, yeah.
From the 70s. It's on the NBC app, if anybody cares.
Steve Austin.
A man barely alive. We can't be better, stronger, faster. Oh, man. Are you kidding me? I loved all that stuff. I wanted to be able to be fast like the $6 Million Man. That's what I want, how fast I wanted to be.
Yeah.
Lee Majors, man. Oh,
yes.
I wonder what he's doing.
I thought about that recently. After watching the show last night, I was like, wonder how Lee's doing. I mean, he's got to be in his 80s now.
Yeah, he's still around.
I can't remember Wonder Woman's name.
Huh?
I'm embarrassed to say I can't remember Wonder Woman's name.
Linda Carter.
Oh, Linda Carter.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Loved her. Are you kidding?
Oh,
God.
Well, Benson, Robert Guillaume, he was in that episode of The Outer Limits you were in. Did you know that?
Robert Guillaume was in my episode?
Yeah, the one where you were the dairy, you handed the phone. You didn't work with him in any scene.
No, I didn't work.
He was the main guy.
I forgot that.
He was a total bitch in the episode.
What a great actor, though.
Oh, yeah.
I loved him. Look
at something like Lean on Me, too. That was a great movie.
Lean on Me.
Morgan Freeman.
Benson.
Yeah.
I watched that so many times.
Yeah.
That is like such an important movie.
Yeah.
Every kid should see that movie, especially, I don't know. It was just, that movie meant a lot to me because there were just, high schools that needed the attention they were not getting. Mm-hmm. And we all saw it. And it was just like, oh, please, somebody do something after this movie.
Exactly. And I think it's important to make movies like that, or to make movies that say something, because sometimes, the art is what can change the world, or change things for the better. When you see it and it's right there in front of you in, on a huge screen or your screen at home, and then you realize something needs to change. So that's one of the things that moves me about film and TV, and me in my life personally. I know that one of the things I'm here to do is inspire other people.
You are inspiring.
Really.
You really are very inspiring. I was going to ask you about your parents, because everyone seems to have great parents who seems to get as far as you. But do you have siblings? Do you have brothers and sisters? You allowed to?
Yeah. My brother is an actor named Viv Leacock, who's on a TV show called When Calls the Heart right now for the Hallmark Channel, and two of his kids play his kids on the show, which is pretty cool. I have a sister, Leva, who's got 3 sons, and single mom doing her thing. And my mom passed away about 25 years ago. She was only a couple years younger than I am now when she passed away, so she was pretty young.
That's right.
And my parents are from the Caribbean. My dad, they're both from Trinidad. So we had a pretty strict upbringing, but my parents loved the movies. They would take us to the drive-in. That's kind of where it all started, was hiding under the blanket so they didn't have to pay for us in the back of the station wagon.
I really miss that.
Yeah.
I saw Jaws and I was scared. Scared, man.
I had to drive-in.
Yeah, me too. Oh man, I had to hide my face under the blanket, just like you just said.
Man, I didn't want to stand on blue carpet after that. I just thought shark jump up through the carpet. I was probably about 6 years old when I saw that movie. No business seeing that movie.
Wow. Yeah.
They should have told me to go to sleep at the back of the station wagon. I did not. But my parents, they always loved to go see big movies and that sort of thing. So they always took us, and that kind of just kept on going, in my life. And now I do that with my own family. Before we left Toronto, we used to go, there was a drive-in there. So my wife and I, we would go to the drive-in. Yeah. We would do that. So it was kind of to bring back that old feeling of doing that and getting the snacks and the whole thing. It was a great thing.
One of my fondest memories, and my dad was like that. He was like movie. He would get books with all the facts in it and stuff. And some of my fondest memories, we ditch work in school and go see Alien on a huge screen or something. And I was like, oh, it was never the same, And it's just like, the movies was just so great back then. Now it's kind of like your living room is almost good now. Not like our childhood.
No, well, our next movie that we're gonna go see, we've already bought tickets for the new Black Panther movie.
Sweet.
That's for sure next. If something else comes before that, I don't know, but that's what's for sure is next.
That is going to be a good ride. So back to your parents, where were they born exactly?
They're both born in Trinidad in the Caribbean. And so they left there. My dad was a pipe fitter welder who worked all over the place doing that, because back then, if they wanted you and you were good at your job, they would get your work papers for you. So he would go wherever. He's worked in Chile, he's worked in all over the Caribbean, he's worked in the US and and in Canada. So funny thing is, he was up for a job in either Vancouver or LA. And he had been to LA already. So he thought, Vancouver seems safe and a nice place to raise a family. So we ended up in Vancouver. That's the only reason I didn't end up here first.
Yeah, he likes that feeling. LA is great, but I think I would be like him. I would prefer that feeling. So what do you see yourself in 5 years?
5 years from now, I will still be acting. I see that there is a TV series that I'm a part of. The whole thing, and still helping to produce movies as well and make projects come to fruition. So I want to do some more producing in the future as well.
You just answered my next question.
Yeah, so I've got some things that I'd like to produce. I have a bunch of scripts that I'd like to, shepherd to get them to the finish line. But
What kind of subject matter is interesting you now?
Oh man, well, here's the thing. I consider myself a student of the movie and TV and film business. And so there's not too many genres that I wouldn't care to be a part of.
Mhm.
I love action adventure. I grew up watching a lot of that. So I still want to do stuff like that. I figure if Harrison Ford can be how old he is and doing Raiders of the Lost Ark 4, then I'm still young enough to pull off a lot of stuff. Um, and then, I love comedy. I love sci-fi stuff. I have a sci-fi Western that I produced and one of the stars in that we're hoping to make into something. We should have that finished by the end of this month, and then hopefully off into film festivals, and then pass it around to the studio to help see if it can be made into a series.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, it'll be pretty cool if we can get that one going. About to go shoot a project with my brother. There's a project that we've had gestating for quite some time. And we're gonna shoot hopefully at the end of this year, which is something which will be the basis of it'll be like a pilot presentation. So it'll be the idea for a new TV series for him and I, which will be an action comedy kind of thing. If you take the movie Bad Boys with Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, and you add a little bit of Simon and Simon and Rockford Files and that sort of thing, and that's kind of what this show is. Not, smash bang crash kind of thing so much like the way the Bad Boys film is, but just the back and forth banter between the two is kind of like that between me and my brother.
That's going to be cool because you have the mindset of the Rockford Files. Not a lot of people want to bring that into the modern age, and that's going to give you an edge. That's very creative. I think it's going to play well.
Yeah, man. We're students. That's the stuff that we watched growing up.
Oh yeah, same here. I loved it.
So we're taking pieces of that and then putting them in today and making it relevant for today. That's how we're approaching it. And we're really going to lean into the relationship between the family, because there's the two brothers, but there's also a sister there as well, who will be there.
It's going to be a busy 5 years for you.
That's what I'm thinking.
One thing I wanted to ask you, and maybe there isn't anything, is there one thing that you would like to do over in your life?
Do over?
Yeah.
I don't regret anything, but because everything needed to go the way it did, if there's one thing I might decide to do, when I was 18 years old, I got invited to go to a school, an acting school in New York. And I was having too much of a good time where I was. I had just started acting as a professional. I got my role on Jump Street, and I was like, I don't know if I want to go all the way to New York to enroll in the school, and then I can't work professionally. And I'm having such a good time here, going out and doing this and that. So if anything, maybe I would have done that. I don't know for a fact that I would, but that would be something that I would have thought about.
Well, school's beneficial in retrospect. It could have helped. I mean, yeah, you could have
maybe, but I still went to acting school. I still do that, because you can never stop learning, as far as I can see. And I needed to experience life, which also informs my acting. So, it went the way it's supposed to go, and there's a whole lot more to do. So
you've been to all like movie premieres and all that. I mean, what does that feel like? I mean, what is that like? I mean,
so bizarre, to be honest with you, because there's so much attention shooting at you. I've been on the red carpet where they're like, here, look this way, and then you're smiling, and there's just like bright lights going off repeatedly. And it's trying to act normal in that position. It's not normal.
Right.
Just not normal. But
I think I would just try to freeze a good face for all those pictures, I guess.
Exactly. I was like, I'm hoping my eyes aren't closed.
And how do you keep them open with all those lightning strikes happening in your visual range?
Oh yeah. My brother and I have gone down the red carpet together my wife has come down the red carpet with me. My son has been able to come down the carpet with me for films. And when going down the carpet with my brother, it's an experience for the people that are there, because we just go right into a show business routine while we're out there. We work it. We have a lot of fun doing that together. You know, my wife, I can remember, I'll tell a story real quick. For the I Spy premiere, we flew down from Toronto to come support my brother for the film. And my wife had been talking a big game. She's going to kill me for telling the story. But she talked a big game, you know, about, oh, I can't wait to get on the red carpet, because she loves everything fashion. She loves that sort of thing. She thought she was going to be out there posing. As soon as we got to that red carpet, Eddie showed up behind us. And I was like, hey, Ed, what's going on? And my wife kind of froze because she saw this supermodel that she's idolized forever named Rashumba. And then Eddie's there. And then the lights are flashing. And I'm like, say hi to Eddie and let's move forward on the carpet. And she was like, I think I'm just going to go back here. I'm like, no, you wanted this. So you got to stay.
Awesome.
And I made her work the red carpet with me for a while.
Wow.
Must have taken a few moments to get comfortable.
It took her a few moments, but she got there. She doesn't have a problem now.
Oh, yeah.
No.
With what you were saying earlier, she has a lot of fun and is probably really comfortable with all the superstars now.
No, I mean, you know, she will now she is, because she's been around it so much now that it's just second nature. You just, you know, these are just people.
That's funny, her getting acclimated though.
Yeah, you know, as much as we revere them and all that sort of thing, they are just people, you know, we treat them, and that's what they want to be treated as. So that's what you do.
That's a good point.
True. Yeah.
Now, about LA, are you a sports fan, and are you a LA sports fan?
I am a LA Lakers fan.
Okay.
Yes, definitely. As much as the Clippers, you know, are an LA team, I can't vote for them because I'm a Lakers guy. They're across the hall. I can't get down.
No,
So,
I know what you mean. Outside of like Billy Crystal and Penny Marshall, those are the
Clipper fans.
Clippers fans. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I've been to Clipper games. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah, sure.
But I'm a Lakers fan. I have been since Magic was on the team. You know, since Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and that sort of thing. So I've always loved the Lakers, because we didn't have a basketball team up in Vancouver for years, and then we had one for a short minute, and then they were gone.
Exactly.
So, you know, Lakers fan. I definitely love the Dodgers as well. You know, listen, I lived in Toronto, so I'm always gonna have, my heart's always gonna be with the Blue Jays.
Oh yeah.
But I do.
I know. I'm a bit of
a
Blue Jays fan myself. So
I remember taking my son to see a Laker game, and they were playing the Toronto Raptors.
Yeah.
He was losing his mind because he didn't know who to cheer for, so he just cheered for both.
Oh.
He was probably about 7 years old, and he was like, "Go Kobe!" And then he looked at the Raptors, "Go Raptors!" And you just saw the conflict that was happening.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Hilarious.
So do you have any like little things you get? You know what? I like to sneak away with the kid and play Pokemon. Do you have any little hobbies or anything? My boys are getting, I have two teenage boys. So one is driving now and one is just becoming a teenager, you know, so we like to sneak away. I can't catch the older one now. He's in his truck somewhere. Yeah.
Well, you know, one thing I like to do with my son is, one thing we like to do as a family is go for walks. We do that. Nice. I'll sneak away and do that. With my boy, we like to go get French fries. He's a French fry connoisseur. Doesn't matter where the French fries are from. French fry. You know, to this day, he's 18, and we still do that.
No, that's great.
When he was in school, everyone, and my wife and I were just talking about this, I think last night or a day or two ago, and at least once a year, we would get him up in the morning, get him dressed like he's going to go to school. We drive all the way to the school, and we say, "We're not going to school. We're gonna have a ditch day, and we're gonna go hang out and go to the beach or whatever." We would always do stuff like that.
Nice.
At least once or twice a year, just to have a family day, and so we could spend time together. Because, you know, my wife and I were always working while he was at school. So we always want to make sure there was time that we spent together and just really connected. So we would do that, spend a whole full day together like that. And my wife and I like to go get coffee together and people watch still to this day. That's been a part of our relationship for the past 24 years. Wow. It's one thing.
I like your outlook. I mean, if someone were to ask you the question, what is the LA lifestyle? What would your response be? I know it's kind of an abstract question.
It is, because I think it's different for everyone. You know, my lifestyle is, I wake up early in the morning, I go do what I have to do. I come back and, you know, if it's a weekday, I might stop in and get a coffee someplace and hang out for a little bit. If it's a weekend, you know, right now we're in new home stuff. So it's all about IKEA, Home Depot, Home Goods, Bed Bath and Beyond. That's where I'm at right now. But doing that, we'll take a moment and we'll go sit down at a coffee shop and have coffee. That's the LA lifestyle for me is right now, man. I mean, I go to work, I do what I have to do. And then we just like having nice dinners at home and having a glass of wine and maybe watch something cool on TV. We're going to watch She-Hulk tonight. We're going to finish it off.
Excellent.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's good to, I love your vibe because you're just a good family man.
Sure.
You're just got a good heart, and it's just well-deserved success, and you spread it around and help others. And
we love everything
really
about
like
you, Richard.
How you oriented your career at a family first kind of like building method, you know, and just really a fantastic story from beginning to end.
Yeah.
Thank you. And, you know, we got it as far as like what you just said about helping, you got to do that. You got to reach back as you go and pull up the next man trying to come up behind you.
And that's why we do these things, these podcasts, you know?
Yeah, you got to do that. You got to help one another, because I am my brother's keeper. I am my sister's keeper. You know, that's how this world works. That's how this business works. You know, right now, there's some good things that could be happening with my brother, and he's looking to see if he can pull me along. You know, when I got going my way, I'm trying to pull him along. We're each other's biggest cheerleader in this business. 100%. When he's ever fell down, I'm like, let's be creative. Let's go do something.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's what we do.
Excellent.
Seems like it's been a very successful business model so far, and I wish you many, many years. And
we are so thrilled that we connected with you, and I want to thank you.
Something's bound to happen big, you know, and if anything does happen new, could you maybe consider coming back and sharing it? We'd love
Yeah.
I had a really wonderful time.
Guys, anytime.
And I have to thank your publicist, Laura Walsh, for putting us in contact. So
yeah, most definitely.
Right.
I'll come rock you guys anytime.
Thank you so much. So you got any more questions, Mark?
No, this is good. Thanks so much, Richard, for Mark 2.0. We really appreciate everyone. You can learn so much from these podcasts. Thanks.